Welcome to the second lecture for the course PH 203, Critical Thinking of Mid-South Christian College. Your assignment this week asks you to create a plan for personal improvement. This lecture will help you to fulfill this assignment. Setting goals gives clarity to our lives and helps us move forward with purpose. Goals help us to have focus, and they also make us accountable as we strive to become the best we can be. So let's get started. In the literature, you will find that people define goals and objectives differently. For this course, we follow the military definition of a goal as a broad statement not capable of direct measurement. So the goal defines the ultimate desired outcome that you want to achieve through the project as a whole. Allison and Kay, in their book on project management, define a goal as an outcome statement that guides a program or management function. So a goal is the final desired outcome or target that drives the program as a whole. In organizations, when employees have a clear understanding of the company's goals and objectives, their particular function takes on a higher sense of purpose. It's highly motivating to be able to see the big picture and to understand that their contribution is helping everyone achieve the ultimate goals. Goals fall into two categories or types. First, you have learning goals. These are goals that help you or your organization improve in creativity, knowledge, or skills. On a personal level, these would be self-improvement goals. With a learning goal, you are competing with your own current knowledge or skill capability. Outcome goals, on the other hand, focus on a specific desired outcome. They are evaluated against other people, organizations, or external benchmarks. Now let's look at the steps to setting goals. The first step is to examine your internal environment. On a personal level, this means looking at yourself honestly and objectively. What are your skills? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Socrates once said that people make themselves look ridiculous when they try to know obscure things before they even know themselves. Self-awareness is the first step in the planning process. The next step is to look outside yourself. Many companies have failed because they have a favorite product that they became so enamored with, only to find out that the public didn't want it. On a personal level, it's good to do some thorough research on skill sets that are needed in today's world and in the future. There are many future-oriented websites that provide valuable information in this area, such as the Institute for the Future, who recently put out a report called Future Work Skills 2020. The third step is to consult with the experts. In the case of personal or career planning, this could mean talking with people from the industries in which you are interested. If your goal is one of personal improvement and you know your weaknesses and strengths, consult with experts about how to compensate for your weaknesses and how to leverage your strengths. The fourth step is to turn it into a team project. In other words, get some other people involved in your planning. If it's a plan for personal development, in addition to the experts we just talked about, also gather together some people who will help you monitor your progress. Look for a mentor with whom you can share your goals and meet with regularly to provide encouragement and guidance. Once you have identified your goal, it's time to break it down into smaller pieces. First, break down your goals into objectives. Objectives are like the cities that an army needs to take in order to win the war, or the assignments a student needs to submit in order to pass a course. Unlike goals, objectives are directly measurable. I want to make sure that we are clear about the difference between goals and objectives. So let's look at a couple definitions. In their book, Strategic Planning for Nonprofit Organizations, Allison and Kay define an objective as a precise, measurable, time-phased result that supports the achievement of a goal. Notice that objectives directly support a particular goal and are a means by which the goal becomes measurable. This definition agrees with that of the U.S. Defense Department, which defines an objective as the specific target of the action taken. For example, a definite terrain feature, the seizure or holding of which is essential to the commander's plan, or an enemy force or capability without regard to terrain features. When creating your objectives, try to use the SMART acrostic, according to which objectives should be specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. Specific objectives are stated in precise rather than vague terms. For example, An objective that provides for 20 hours of technical training for each employee is more specific than simply stating as many employees as possible should take training classes. To say that an objective is measurable means that some metric is needed to assess the extent to which the objective is accomplished. For example, notice these two statements. Municipal buildings will increase their energy consumption by 20% by the year 2020. Or, by the end of the year, I will improve my writing such that I commit no grammatical, spelling, or stylistic errors on my written assignments. In both of these cases, the objective was measurable. Working toward objectives can give you a sense of purpose, and reaching them boosts your self-confidence. However, there is one common mistake that many people make, setting unrealistic goals that you can't possibly obtain. Instead of feeling gratified and accomplished, you can end up feeling worse about yourself than before. That's why objectives need to be attainable. The test of whether or not an objective is results-oriented is whether you can say yes to the question, can it be crossed off? Ongoing processes like continuous learning, helping one another, or monitoring employees are not goal-oriented. You can't check them off because they are ongoing activities. Results-oriented objectives start with action verbs like complete, acquire, produce, increase, decrease. Verbs such as develop, conduct, implement, or monitor imply ongoing activities and should not be used in a statement of objectives. Finally, objectives should be time-bound. This again goes back to the idea that an objective should be something that you can eventually check off once it is accomplished. Once you've identified and clearly stated your objectives, you need to prioritize them and then place them in a workable sequence. You can't always work on all of your objectives simultaneously, so you need to decide which ones to work on first. As you look at your list of objectives, it may help to put them into certain categories or boxes. First, is it urgent? Urgent objectives usually make it to the top of the list. Is it important? Sometimes we spend all our time working on the urgent and forget about the important. Don't forget about the important. Another box is the on hold box. Some objectives cannot be worked on yet because they need prior objectives to be accomplished before they become viable. And finally, I have a category I call someday maybe. This box is for those great ideas you have, but that just don't fit into your goals right now in life. The final step in the planning process is to determine action steps. Like the objectives they support, action steps should be SMART. That is, they too should be specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. As objectives are the specific outcomes that support and lead to the achievement of a goal, so action steps are specific activities that support and lead to the achievement of an objective. Action steps are the exact details of your plan. Each action step should explain what will occur, to what extent will it occur, who will do it, when will they do it, and what resources will be needed for them to do it. Now that we have taken apart the planning process and analyzed each part, let us put it back together again and look at the big picture. You start by identifying a goal or overarching desired result that you would like to see happen. Remember, a goal is not directly measurable. Then you establish your objectives, the specific outcomes that, taken together, will lead to the accomplishment of the goal. And finally, you develop your action steps, the specific actions that you need to take in order to achieve the objective. Here is a personal planning example. Notice, first of all, that the goal was identified at the top of the form. This example was taken from a city plan to balance the budget. The overarching goal is to be a fiscally responsible city that does not spend more than it takes in. The next item in the form is one of the objectives that will lead to the achievement of the goal. In this case, the objective is to reduce energy use in all municipal buildings by 10% by the year 2020. Notice that the objective meets the SMART criteria. It is specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. The next section of the form contains the specific action steps the city will take to accomplish the objective. Each action step is dated, and each action step also has a person who is responsible for doing it. This is important because when everybody is responsible, nobody is responsible. The final section explains how the plan will be monitored. In other words, who will report to whom about progress. This completes the second lecture of the course, PH 203, Critical Thinking. I hope you find it helpful as you prepare your personal development plan.